Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we are taking a look at the Forever Steel Megrez. That's with the ultimate goal of seeing if it's worth adding to your collection or your daily carry rotation. This did come to me from Aurora Blade. I do not get to keep this knife. It's going to get sent back to Aurora Blade. This was designed by Deck Links, and the OEM is Forever Steel. And then this is how you spell Deck Links in case you want to find them online. And then this is Forever Steel. So first of all, holy cow. This thing is breathtaking. Absolutely stunning piece. Even if you don't like the aesthetic, you have to appreciate the amount of attention to detail and care that was taken to make this knife. For starters, we've got this bronze anodized hardware, this bronze anodized backspacer, beautiful full Timascus scales that the blue and the pink is indicative of Timascus, but this orange kind of matches the bronze accents. And I don't know why it was such a rising inflection accents, but it matches, and it makes me wonder and kind of assume that they purposely pulled out these colors to match the accents, because typically like this orange bronze color isn't super indicative of Timascus, at least not that I'm aware of. We have these huge oversized thumb studs, and then we've got these huge protruding pivots. This is a tip down carry only. We have a spot for a lanyard, and then we have an exposed backlock. So whenever you go to open the blade, the backlock engages, and we've got these beautiful little spades, one there and one there. And then to disengage, we click the backlock to release, and then we slowly close it. So lock up, close. Now, as far as the ergonomics go, surprisingly great. I was nervous because this isn't very thick and it's very short, right? There's not a lot of height to this blade or to this handle. But whenever I put it in hand, I'm pushing on the lock, so I'm keeping it engaged more so than if I was, if this wasn't here. Basically, I'm strengthening the lock by applying pressure here, which is awesome. But also, I get a little extra grip back here to lock in because it gets a little bit fatter. And then my hand just kind of folds nicely over it. It's sitting on my finger pads. It's not sitting in my hand like this. But this is very comfortable. Would be perfect for great lightweight EDC. You can grab on to the protruding bolsters, not bolsters, but protruding pivots, and use that to kind of guide your cut if you need to. You get a lot of control, and this blade's so long that you feel like you've got a lot of knife, even though you really don't. But yeah, comfortable in hand. These pivots are very comfortable. They're very nice and rounded. I suppose you could even get up here if you wanted to on these big oversized thumb studs. Actually, that feels great. Yeah, you could drive this sucker all day on studs or on pivots, really whichever one you prefer. So ergonomics are fantastic. As far as the blade goes, to me, we've got kind of a Persian-y sheep's foot. We are rocking a hollow grind, and we have a very deep swedge. It feels really nice. The blade's beautiful. I believe it said Swedish Damascus. I know the base model of this, I say base model, but it's still Damascus, is M390, but I'm not sure what blend of steel they're using for their Damascus. I highly doubt that it's like, 9CR, 10CR situation. I would imagine it's two premium steels. I'm just not sure what they are. Maybe M390 is the base, so who knows? And while this blade isn't perfectly optimized for anything, it would be great for a letter opener, maybe a bubble wrap opener, really light EDC. Now, don't get me wrong, this thing can perform like a monster if you so chose to put it through that. I say light duty because that's kind of what it's, it feels lithe and slim and lightweight in hand, that kind of lends it towards being more of a light duty EDC. But also, I personally don't like to take knives like this out into the field with me. So some people do. That's fine. It's just not me. So if I did carry this, it would only be for the lightest weight of duty. More of a conversation starter, maybe a church carry. Man, this thing's just on another level. If you have kind of a sucky collection and you want to spruce it up, get one of these. Because I don't care what your collection looks like, if you throw this into the mix, like you could take this knife to a conversation, with people that are talking about $1,500 customs. This is nowhere near that cost. Then you could still bust it out and they'd be like, "Ooh, what is that?" You'd be like, "Oh, nothing. Just the Forever Still Megrez. It's kind of rare. It's pretty cool. You know, it's my you know truck knife. Whatever." And totally play it off like you're just like some super badass that just like has knives like this that they just kind of chuck around. Obviously, don't do that to this knife, but because that would be super sad. You can flick it open. It's not going to be the most fidgety knife, as backlocks typically aren't. But if you can slow your roll and maybe pinch it open and then slow roll it out, I find that to be super satisfying. Just kind of grab it, pinch it, roll. Nice clicky snap into the lockup position. And then a nice little snap on the close. I didn't think it would work that way, but it would be cool if you pulled this and it flipped open. But so don't expect this thing to be a fidget beast. But if you're just sitting on your couch, relaxing, maybe wind it down for the day, having something a little more deliberate to fidget with, might break it up a little bit, right? Or maybe if like you're watching something with your partner and they get really annoyed by your flicking, maybe slowing it down a little bit with something like this would do you some good. Now, the specs were kind of hard to find. Oops. There we go. But we'll go over what we know. The overall length for this is 7.5 inches. The blade length is 3.5 inches. And that gives this thing a magical 0.875 blade to handle ratio, which is nuts. On top of that, it's only 2.5 ounces. So you're getting 3.5 inches of blade for 2.5 ounces of weight, which, like, you could legitimately, like, if you were a jogger and just tracking as light as possible, you could definitely take this with you, because that's like bug out size. Well, no, I think bug out's like 1.8, but you know what I'm saying. That's really, really light. Let's do some size comparisons. Up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen, the third best Civivi ever made next to the Visions. Up against the real steel Sylph, made slightly shorter because I rolled the tip. And then my second favorite budget knife of the year, the Megrez Gotov. And I have a video coming up soon regarding my favorite budget knife, which just came in the mail the other day. Not a brand that you've heard of, but I love it. And some people are going to hate it and be like, you shouldn't even include that. But I'll explain why. And it looks like it's coming in a fair amount longer than the Gotov, about the same size as the Sylph. All right, so what's the damage on this bad boy? Price varies a little bit. I've seen it on the low end, I want to say for about $450. I think on the higher end, about $550. Is this knife worth it? So there are so many variables to that question. When you're talking $500+, you're already outside of normie territory, right? You are smack dab in enthusiast territory. So then you have to decide, like, what is the opposite end of the spectrum? Maybe a Hinderer or a Megrez, a Sebenza. And, yeah, those are all American made, of course, and this is made in China. But those knives are really the antithesis to this knife, because those knives are very little frill and very much so, kind of like get shit done knives, right? They're American made. They're very simple. And I don't mean simple in a bad way. They're just very simple designs, very classic designs. And then in stark contrast to that, you've got this guy who, for all intents and purposes, should just be a showpiece. So this isn't one of those knives where, like, can I see where the price came from? Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Especially if they specifically pulled this color of Damascus out to match the bronze anodization. Yeah. And then to have this exposed backlock, to have the Damasteel. Yeah. This much Damascus, I could definitely see. I mean, the machining, Forever Steel's machining quality is fantastic. So I can see where the price came from. But at this point, it's not really about, dollar per value, or value for dollar. We're kind of above and beyond that. If you're looking for a knife, you can get a good one for about $30. And that'll do everything this one will do, essentially. If you want a good user, you have fantastic options under $100. So whenever you get up to this $500 territory, it's going to come down more to what feels right for you, right? Whenever I'm shopping in the $500 territory, it's not always that I'm looking for something specific, but it's something grips me. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to have that. So, you'll know if you're in that situation, if you see this knife and it just grips you. Like something about it just resonates with you and you have to have it. Some people will get that feeling whenever they see a Sebenza or a Hinderer or a Megrez. And those are great knives. I'm personally saving up right now for a large Sebenza, because that's one of those knives that just grips me. So So yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to say. Um, is the value there for this knife? Well, a lot of it is aesthetic value. So if you're looking for a tool, then no, for you, the value isn't going to be there. But if you're eclectic, if you like to have the exotic and the rare designs in your collection, or if you like designs that are, super crazy and fancy that not everybody has, like Forever Steel's not a big company. Not many people know about them. And yeah, there's a lot of people that have Sabenzas, Hinderers, and McNees. Like you could throw a rock and you'll hit somebody that's carrying one of those knives. And they're popular. They deserve that popularity. But you would be hard pressed, even at, like, you would have to go to Blade Show, and then maybe one or two other people, not even one or two, I'd say maybe one other person has this knife on them, right? So, do you value that spice in your collection? If you do, and you just want to know that, you're not getting scammed on the price, then I could say, yeah, you're definitely not. This knife is fantastic. Um, and as far as the art design and the aesthetic, the exposed mechanisms and things like that, yeah, this knife is wonderful. But if you're looking for utility driven, um, you know, you know, value for dollar in the aspect of like getting shit done, working hard, dropping it in the mud, it still works fine, on washers. If you're looking for something like that, this might not be the knife for you. So I'll say, for me, it's one of those rare circumstances where this would simply be a collection piece for me. This would not be a daily carry. Um, and I carry $800 knives, right? It's not about the price point, but it's about what the knife was meant for. And whenever I see this knife, to me, it was meant to be a showpiece. So like I'll put it in my pocket and I'll pop it out to talk to people about it. Um, but outside of just carrying it for conversation, I'm not going to put any actual use to this knife. I would just keep it and, share it with the people that, I talk knives with. But what would this be for you? Would this be a daily carry? Because I would love to hear, if it would be a daily carry and why. Would it be a collection piece, or does this knife just miss the mark for you entirely? Really interested to read your thoughts down below. If you guys don't mind, please leave a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, we just hit 1,500. So if you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe. And until the next one, guys, peace.